I've always had the knack or the need, the wants to help other people. Before it was to help other women specifically, but now people because I just don't want to limit my passion. Growing up, I grew up in as a firstborn American Latina in like the generation. And my mother came here when she was very young. So it's not like she was older when she came here. She was 10. My grandmother migrated in the 60s and then no, before that and then brought her kids over here 10 years when when my mom was 10. Her sister and her brother came to live here. Settled in Spanish Harlem in 1970 and I grew up there, born and raised in Spanish Harlem until I was 18 years old and then we moved to the Upper West Side. So since I was in my 20s, I wanted to, well, first let's rewind. My first job was Jamba Juice. Well, my first job was Summer Youth Employment Program, which is SYEP, which all the kids did in back in my day. So I did that, and it's not a real job, but it's like your first taste of like earning some money and adhering to a schedule, having a boss, understanding, things. But they would make the kids like file stuff in alphabetical order, maybe answer the phone every once in a while. It was cute. It was cute for what it was, and it gave you something to do in the summer. Because at 14, 14 was the like initial age of you can start summer youth program at 14. Because at 14 it's like you don't want to go to summer camp no more. That's whack. That's boring. You don't want to be 14 years old going to summer camp. So you do that. Then when I was 16, my first job was Jamba Juice, and I've been there since I was 20. So from 16 to 20, I've worked at Jamba Juice. That's the longest job I've ever held. After that, I think working at Jamba Juice for so young, like while I was young and to be there up until, early adulthood, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about customer service. It taught me a lot about management. That was the first time I've gotten promoted to anything. I got promoted to a training mentor and then I got promoted to team lead. And it taught me so much about personality, about, again, customer service, about customer satisfaction, about quality control, about food industry, any type of restaurant industry. It taught me how to communicate with people, everything, like how to handle different types of personalities, how to be under authority, follow rules, adhere to a schedule, adhere to whatever rules, you know, and also how to navigate life while working. I was a full-time student in high school and college while I was working, right? So that gave me a little bit of grit. I did like going into the freezer to rotate stuff. FIFO. I learned about FIFO. I went into the refrigerator. I carried things up and down the stairs. I organized the frozen fruits into jam baskets. We call them jam baskets and we call them like jamming. So, and then I learned how to be flexible, how to cross train people, how to cross train myself. I learned how to ask questions. I learned how to study the people that were good. The when you scoop, the little stuff, whatever it is, it's called the I just had the name in my head. The dip box, because you dip into it and you get the stuff whether it was the fruits or the dairy. And I always wanted to be so fast on the dip box, and I would just watch people who were fast. I would watch people who were good at the register, and I wanted to learn every single thing. Okay. Also, Jamba Juice taught me how fucked up corporate can be and how nobody really cares about you. It doesn't matter if you could be sick. My mother cursed out a manager at one time. It was embarrassing, but now that I'm older, I get why she did it. But it was still embarrassing. Like everybody kind of gave me stuff where like, oh, I don't want your mother calling and blah blah blah. But they don't. They. I was sick in bed, dying, and you could hear it in my voice. And my manager was like, okay, well, you still have a shift. That's corporate for you, and it's also giving you a little bit of a taste of what adulthood is like. And mind you, at that time, I was still in school, so I wasn't in the real world. Like I was in school, I was working, and I was just thinking, damn, this is how it's gonna be, like Once you graduate high school and you go into the real world, if you're not going into college and you don't have no other responsibility, like if you're under your parents' roof and they're taking care of you and you're just going to school, that's different because you still get breaks and you get a vacation and you get sometimes your teachers don't come in, or you're not in school full time. You might have like a 2 hour gap between your classes. That's different. But if you work and go to school, or if you go into right into a full time job after high school, that's that's it. That's the world. Or at least that's what you think that's the world is. And my mom, she got an associate's degree. She went to school. I remember when I was 4 years old, she went to school. She got her associate's degree in computer science, I think, like that. I think something like that. I don't know what she got it in. But so obviously, she wanted me to go to school and to get a 401k job and to get a full time job and to get a bachelor's or a master's and to work, 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 work. I knew after leaving Jamba Juice, I do not want to work for another company ever in my life. Before, I used to think, I don't want to work for a corporate company. I don't want to work for a chain like Jamba Juice, where it's they really don't care about you because there's so many people applying for the job and they have so many staff and they have so many locations all over the country. You matter even less. So I thought I'll just work for mom and pop establishments. Not much difference. Not much of a difference. The only thing that I like about it is that I didn't have to go through the chain and command of going to your immediate supervisor, and then that supervisor has to ask this, and then the general manager has a district manager, and then it has to go to corporate. That is annoying just to get a yes or no, right? Just to like take a day off or something. But for mom and pop, there isn't that many. There's usually no HR. It's just a general manager and then the owner. But I just wasn't satisfied, and I knew I wanted to work for myself. I knew that I had all these amazing qualities, and they were being misvalued and not used to the best. And then I started to think, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I liked crafting. I picked up sewing. I sewed. I made things. The problem was the turnaround rate for me to make one product while I'm working and going to school was taking me forever. And I'm thinking to myself, it's if it takes me 1 week to make a piece of anything, this is going to take me forever. I'm wasting my money. I couldn't mass produce. At that time, I wasn't thinking about wholesale or anything like that or drop shipping. This was like in the early 2000s. And I let that go for a while. Then I got into like other things and, whatever other opportunities was a fade or a phase or a wave. And I just kept job hopping. I'm a job hopper. After Jamba Juice, it's hard for me to stay at a job for more than 2 years. And 2 years is cutting it. It's really like a year and a half. Like once they tell me, oh my gosh, your year anniversary is coming up, I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go. I don't like robotic jobs. I don't like, um, you know, doing the same thing every single day, because after a while, there is a ceiling, not even financially, but there's a ceiling with knowing things, with knowledge. Because if a company, here's the thing, here's a catch 22. If a company pays you to do ABC, right? And you start doing ABCDEFG, they're not going to say, oh my gosh, you're going above and beyond. Let me give you a raise. No. If you have the title to do ABC, they're paying you to do that. If you do more or do better, that's on you. Now, what happens is, since I do what I do is I'll do the whole more work, and then I'll learn more and I'll update my resume, and then I'll get another job that's going to pay me more, and I just keep doing that like every year and a half. That gets tiring too, and I knew that there was never going to be a world where I would be happy and content working for a company, working for someone else. I knew that I was never going to make the money that I wanted. I knew that I was never going to have the lifestyle that I wanted. I knew that I was never going to have the tranquility that I wanted. I knew that I was always going to be tired, that I was going to always have to compromise my time for something that I needed to do. And I was never going to have time to do things that I wanted to do. Once I started seeing, oh, when I worked at Jamba Juice, there was no sick days. You know what they did? They hire everybody as part-time, but they would give you 40 hours because on paper, if you're part-time, legally, they don't have to give you any benefits. They don't have to give you any days off. They also didn't have to pay you for jury duty, right? That's what a lot of businesses do. That's what a lot of food businesses do. They will hire you part-time and they don't have to give you any benefits, but they can give you the 40 hours. So they will hire us part-time. I made the 40 hours and I understood um wow, this is life. Like, I'm tired. I was always the opener because I was always one of the most reliable people on ship. I am used to waking up at 4:30 in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning for almost every job. I am an early riser. I can be an early riser, but I never wanted to wake up at 5 in the morning to get ready to go to work. I want to wake up at 5:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning to meditate, to read, to sip a cup of coffee slow, to go to the gym, to do something for me. Because by the time I get home from work, I'm drained, I'm beat, I'm tired. And again, I have to compromise that little bit of time that I have after work, which is about maybe 4 to 5 hours. And that those little hours go by so quickly, so quickly. And I would think, do I have to shower? What am I going to let go of today? Like, what am I going to sacrifice today just so that way I could get at least 7 hours of sleep and wake up and do this whole thing again and be stuck in this life? Because this is the dream. This is the dream. This is the American dream. And as I got older, obviously the value of the dollar was not the same. So when I was in Jamba Juice, my first job, I was making 750 an hour, but that was in 2005. I was a senior. I was a sophomore in high school. Then the trainee mentor position was a 50-cent raise. Then I went up to $10 an hour when I got team lead. And at that time, that was decent money. But obviously that money is not the cost of living goes higher and higher and higher. And it's not like these jobs pay for the cost of living. They pay whatever is legal. So I understood that. And the reason why I'm making this video is because your job, your W-2 job is your learning. That's the valley, and you do most of your learning in the valley. That's when you understand businesses. That's when you understand how businesses work. That's when you know how to, oh, one thing that I learned at Jamba Juice was empowerment. They had these building blocks. It was all fiber, and it was like fun something. I forgot what the I was. And they would test us. They'll be like, what's fiber? And I'll be like, fun, enthusiasm, balance, empowerment, and respect. Damn. And they would just every you could be changing out the garbage and the manager will be like, what's fiber? And you have to say it. Or the manager will be like, what's the B stand for in fiber? What's the whatever? What's our mission statement? What do you say after you give someone a protein? What do you a shake? What do you say? How do you give it a boost? Tell me how you give a customer a boost. And these are things that I learned. Empowerment was something that I learned at Jamba Juice. I didn't know what the meaning was until one of my general managers, that was at the Times Square education, and he was like, "Do you know what empowerment means?" And I was 16, 17. I was like, "No." And he told me it's not me making you do something. It's me encouraging you to do something. I'm not forcing you to do anything. And he explained to me how true empowerment comes from. I learned so much at that job. How true empowerment is embodied in setting the example. Because his job as a manager is to get the entire team to buy into a specific goal. So if he wants to have a great shift, he's got to figure out, how can I get this team to give me the shift that we need? And what would he do? He would put everybody in their aces. Your aces is what you're good at. Everybody was course trained. But what is your ace station? What is your specialty? What are you good at? And as an entrepreneur, What you are creating for your community is based on whatever your ace is. You may know different things. You might know how to create AI stuff. You might know how to generate things. You might know how to write ads. You might, but your ace is Facebook. Your ace is Instagram. Your ace is digital marketing. Your ace is a YouTube channel. Maybe your ace is just consistency and time management. That's your ace. And you have to find out what your ace is because your community is going to gravitate towards you. That means you're either attracting other aces, right, that are like you, that want to be better in that field, or you're going to attract people who are not aces, who want to be aces, people who want to learn digital marketing, but they don't know digital marketing, but they know that you specialize in that. And you demonstrate that through your community communication, through your everything that you do. You just have to embody whatever your ace is. And that is how you create your community. And with community, it's going to obviously come sales. And that is how you build your trust. Once your community or whoever, the internet knows what your ace is, I promise you, your everything is going to flow to you. When you say these affirmations in the air, money comes to me abundantly, everything works for my greater good, blah, 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 all that stuff, which I say too. You have to know what your ace is before you try to sell something. A lot of people try to sell things just because they can, not, and it's not their ace, and they're wondering, why am I not selling, why am I not doing this, why am I not making 10K a year? I bought the same course this person bought, like she's making so much money, how come I'm not making that money and I have the same course as she? Because it's not your ace. It's not your thing. And you have to find out what your thing is and you create around it. So you can create your main paid bulk offer first, and then you go into your lead magnet, and then you create a smaller thing to support that, or your tripwire. So find out what your ace is and then build around that.